against the darker gold of skin glowing with a proper expensive Mediterranean yacht kind of tan, not the russet and red skin-peeling version which made any large gathering of Lutonians look like Vermont in the fall. His lean athletic frame was clad in a linen jacket, cream slacks and an open-neck shirt, white enough to signal surrender at 1/2 a mile. He looked, thought Joe, just like one of those hunks you see in upmarket mail-order catalogues where, despite the alleged cutting out of the middleman, the gear still costs 3 times what you'd expect to pay down Luton Market. But it wasn't this that caught and held Joe's attention. It was the fact that the guy looked cool. Not cool in the laid-back, hey man, how you doing kind of way, though that too. No, this guy looked like he was standing in some nice and easy air-conditioned zone of his own, rather than the sauna of Joe's office. Perhaps this was a special deal available only to young fair gods. "Hope you don't mind. I just came in. The door was open," said the YFG. He had a quail's eggs easy over on cinnamon toast kind of voice. "Yeah, that's okay. Trying to get a through draft," said Joe. Then repeated trying, in ironic acknowledgement that not so much air was moving between the open window and door as would have fluttered a maidenhair fern. "All right if I sit down?" said the YFG, sinking onto an old dining chair with the confidence of one whose creamy slacks have been treated with a dust-repellent potion unobtainable by the common herd. "My name is Porphyry, Christian Porphyry." "Uh-huh," said Joe, unsurprised. A creature like this wasn't going to be called Fred Jones, not if, as he firmly believed, there was an underlying order to things. Also, the name wasn't totally unfamiliar, at least the Porphyry bit. He'd seen it in the paper recently, but even memory found it hard to move back through this heat haze. He could check it out later if he had the energy, because he'd certainly not had the energy to dump any newspapers for the past week or so. In fact, come to think of it, he doubted if he'd had the energy to open one. So the Porphyry reference must have been front page or back page, i.e. headline, news or sport. He realized that these thoughts had occupied rather more time than they would have done normally. And since his aha, the sort of companionable silence had developed between them, which was okay between a pair of buddies fishing off a riverbank, but didn't promise to move the PI/client relationship forward very far. He said, "Sixsmith. Joe Sixsmith." "Yes, I thought you must be," said Porphyry, with a pleasant smile. Joe found himself smiling back. There was something very attractive about this guy. He felt really easy with him, which was not a good way to feel with someone who just strolled into your office. For all Joe knew, Porphyry could be a cop interested in the provenance of the 6-pack of Guinness cooling in his washroom hand basin, which he'd got, plus another 19, from his taxi-driving friend Merv Golightly, on the assurance that the 50% discount Merv was offering derived from their being bankrupt stock. "You mean," Joe had inquired for the avoidance of doubt, "that the guy these came from was bankrupt?" To which, after a little thought, Merv had replied, "Well, yeah, I guess he is now." Or could be the YFG was a solicitor about to serve a writ for non-payment of any of the things Joe had non-paid recently. Or could even be he was a hitman on a contract, taken out by one of the top criminals Joe had crossed in his unrelenting crusade for justice. Nah, scrap that one. This guy didn't look like he'd slap your wrist for less than $1,000. And in payback terms, Joe's recent toe-treading didn't rate much more than a 10 quid kicking up an alley. He realized another companionable silence was developing. He said,